Going, Jackie? All right. Well, welcome to the 8th December Board of Selectmen meeting for the town of Wenham. First order of business tonight, I'd like to introduce our new interim town administrator, Tom Younger, who comes to us with very long experience, has been a town administrator for many years, and I know will do well by us. So let me introduce Tom, and you want to say a few words there?
Oh, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I'm very happy to be in the town of Wenham. This is my actually first Zoom meeting, so if I'm doing anything awkward here, you'll have to excuse me, because my last selectmen's meeting, select boards meeting was about 2 years ago. But I am pleased to be a part of this community. I'm looking forward to meeting the residents and the citizens as best as I can. And feel free to contact me on any subject. We have a wonderful team in Town Hall, and looking forward to working with you and working for the citizens of Wenham. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom, and welcome on board.
Thank you.
So just a couple of chairman's comments before we get into the public input. So unfortunately, I feel it necessary to point out that our employees are protected by the town, that there is no excuse for residents, citizens, or others to intimidate or to harass or to accuse town employees. So if you have a problem, come to myself or the other Board of Selectmen members and or the town administrator, and we'll handle the issue. But there is no room and will not be tolerated for such interactions with town employees. Also, those that participate in such action, don't count on me to allow you to have a voice at these meetings or otherwise. Thank you. Second, I need to address the ongoing question that's been with us for over a year. That I'll just point out briefly that minutes from executive meetings from last November, December timeframe have been released and is available. That there is an ongoing litigation process, and I would hope the public at large lets that litigation process proceed and avoid any conflicts, and to just respect the rights of the process and those involved. All right, so Jackie, you're running the show there. What do we have for any people in the chat room want to speak?
So there's no one at this time, Mr. Chairman. If we just give folks a minute, if folks want to participate in public comment, just please put your name in the chat or utilize the raise hand function of Zoom. So let me just make sure. So Mr. Chairman, I am seeing none in the chat at this time.
Well, let's proceed on then to announcements. All right, so, and we'll get to Mary Beth Ting with the new governor's orders for the COVID restrictions, but I believe we're up to date here on this announcement. Reese Across America, the Veterans Committee is committed to ensuring the safety of our residents at our Reese Across America event scheduled for Saturday, December 19th at Wenham's Main Street Cemetery as we place over 500 wreaths on our veterans' graves. To comply with the governor's current directive of no more than 50 in attendance at outdoor gatherings, Wreaths Across America, the wreath distribution will be divided into 2 sessions, 12 p.m. and 1 p.m., with half the wreaths being distributed among graves at each session. Face coverings will be required. Attendees must re-register in advance via the link wenhamma.gov/wreaths, so sign up now. Registered volunteers will be checked in at the entrance to the cemetery for contact tracing, so name and number, and then further instructions will be provided in an email confirmation from the Veterans Committee to keep everybody safe. All right, so yes, hope you people turn out. It's a very important event, but we need to stay safe. All right, next announcements. Unless Jack or John want to read through these whole list, I'll continue on here.
Have at it, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Board and committee openings. The Board of Selectmen is seeking volunteers for the following boards and committees. Visit wenhamma.gov/volunteer for details and how to submit your interest, or contact the town administrator's office. We have the following openings still. 1 opening for 3 years on the Conservation Commission, 1 opening for 3 years on the Council of Aging Board, 2 openings for 3 years on the Hamilton Wenham Community Access and Media, 4 openings for 3 years on the Hamilton Wenham Cultural Council, 1 opening for 2 years on the Iron Rail Commission, 2 openings for 1 year on the Open Space and Recreation Committee, 6 openings for staggered terms on our new Wenham Human Rights Committee. And I believe the closing for that is 9 December. We'd like to get that up and going. And then we have 3 openings for associate members on the Zoning Board of Appeals, and that is staggered terms as well.
Gary, I have a comment on that.
Yes, Jack.
Gary? Yeah, I know we need 3 associate members in the Zoning Board of Appeals, but the Zoning Board of Appeals tenure is 3 years. There must be one person who is up for renewal or whatever coming up. So that this indicates there's nobody on the Zoning Board of Appeals who's up for re-election. That can't be true.
All right, we'll check that. But as you say, this is a very important board, and that once, my understanding is once a issue or procedure starts, we need to have those people in attendance and the alternates in attendance to fill in.
Yeah, we don't have any alternates. We desperately need the alternates, but nevertheless, one of the 3 members right now, I don't know which one it is up for re-election or not if the person doesn't choose to. So
Right.
Somebody has to go back and check that out.
Yeah, so those are staggered terms for the 3 associate member openings.
Now, I'm not talking about the associates. We don't have any associates. I'm talking about the actual Zoning Board of Appeal members themselves.
All right. Very
Mr.
good.
Chair, if I may,
Yes,
this is
Nikki.
Nikki.
Yes,
This is for the alternate openings. The zoning board of appeals is full, but we have 3 vacancies for the associate/alternate members. We have 0 alternate members right now.
yes.
That's what this is for.
All right.
Well, subsequently, we could be looking for a member of the Zoning Board of Appeals whose term is expiring this June 30th, right?
That's right.
In June, that's correct.
Yes,
Okay, that'll be a subsequent meeting then, right?
right.
Okay, that was my point.
All right. Thank you. Next slide then, as we continue with announcements. All right, reports, town administrator report. Here's your first opportunity here, Tom.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Looking forward to, it's been a week, and I'm looking forward to our next meeting for putting a number of things on the PowerPoint, but I have a number of items to discuss verbally with the board this evening. First, and I want to thank the town of Hamilton specifically, is that we partnered with them in Beauport, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, ambulance servants, to provide drive-up testing at the middle school parking lot on the next 2 Wednesdays, the 9th and 16th, Saturday the 19th, Sunday the 20th, Wednesday the 23rd, and Monday the 28th from 8:30 to 4:30 for COVID testing for those who are symptomatic or in close contact with individuals who have tested positive. Those are for residents only of Hamilton and Wenham. It's on our website for you to register. Need to prove that you're a resident of either community and to bring your health insurance card to help participate in it. If you don't have health insurance policy to pay for this, the test could be covered by part of our pre-purchase batch of tests. So I want to thank, particularly, we've got this together in short notice, and thanking everyone in Hamilton working with us on this. Secondly, as you may have seen, the governor came out late this afternoon with some changes as far as COVID-19 measures throughout the Commonwealth. I reviewed them briefly from what came out when we're getting information. They don't seem to really affect our community to a great deal, basically because of our restaurant capacity or our limited number of restaurants in limited other facilities. So it doesn't really affect it. It affects more businesses. Also, weather-related outdoor gatherings. There's they've dropped it from basically down to 50 people, but we as a municipality, have very limited outdoor gatherings for the weather related. So as Nikki had stated for the wreath event, yes, we had changed it for that. But unless you're having other outdoor events during the winter season, it really probably doesn't affect us too much. Please jump in with any questions if you're.
Yeah, Tom, I have a question for you.
Sure.
At our meeting this morning with the Wenham Veterans Committee, we were assuming that we could have 100 people show up for the noontime Saturday, a week from the Saturday meeting. So is that now reduced to 50?
Yes, Nikki had placed it on the website that it is reduced to 50. It's effective, actually, that's the 19th, correct? Yes, it's
Right.
effective. Yeah, it is 19th because it goes into effect, I believe, this Sunday. So if it was this Saturday, it would be probably fine. But next Saturday, it's gone into effect.
I think a memo should go out to Dean Peterson and the Veterans Committee advising them that the 100 allowed people is now 50. Because there's a whole host of things that the Veterans Committee, which I'm a member, have to do on the morning of the 19th, including at 12 o'clock and 1 o'clock. So we were bifurcating the wreaths across America in order to limit allow all the wreaths, but nevertheless comply with the then government Baker's guidelines. I think all members of the Veterans Committee should now be aware there's a reduced restriction, and Dean Peterson may want to adjust or not, I don't know, or Bill Wilson, how we're going to proceed based on the 50. Please.
Mr. Selectman, if I may, I did notify Mr. Dodge, Mr. Peterson, and Mr. Wilson earlier this afternoon of the impact of the governor's order on that particular gathering.
Thank you, Mary Beth.
Oh, wait a minute, I'm not quite done. So that committee might need to reconvene to decide how they're going to actually pull this off on the 19th with the reduced allowance of people. So that's why I'm strongly advising that Dean Peterson, have you already talked to Dean Peterson? Is that right, Mary Beth?
I sent him notification that the gathering limit had been dropped to 50, and he did acknowledge that he received that communication. So,
Okay, all right. That's troublesome, but I mean, I understand. I'm just, a lot of effort has gone into this Wreaths Across America, and that a lot of planning, and they're going to have to replan, that's all.
All right, back to you then, Tom.
Thank you. Some good news for us on the financial front. The legislature agreed on their FY21 budget last Friday. And the numbers for the community do not change relatively much from the governor's reduced budget proposal for FY21. The good news in speaking with our financial team was particularly in our unrestricted general government aid, which we received from the legislature. The town had budgeted about $348,000 at town meeting in July, and the legislature approved $454,000. So literally, there's an additional $100,000 that will flow into free cash based on our budget, because we did not budget the full amount in that area. The remainder of the numbers pretty much stayed steady for what the governor proposed. We are not a really big local aid community, so we're going to be relying on general government, our general government assistance aid, and that will help increase your free cash number in the upcoming year, which is a good thing. We need to keep replenishing our reserves. It makes a big difference in our budgeting. It makes a big difference regarding our bond ratings.
Thank you, Mr. Younger. That is good news. Any additions are good news.
A couple of outside sections in the budget, we don't have the numbers on and how it individually affects Wenham, is particularly on education. The special education circuit breaker was approved at $345 million. And I'm not certain in my 1 week here how much breakdown would be for special education. Charter school mitigation payments, they've approved at 117 million, and that's used to offset the impact of local school budgets for assessments for students that go to charter schools, and I believe there are some in our community, I don't know the number, that go to them. And there's also $53 million appropriated for COVID impact assistance for school. And that's primarily for changes that you had to do within the schools that COVID affected. So that's primarily a school issue and how that gets distributed. Oh, I just got a note that charter enrollment is 0. Thank you for passing. This is what's good about Zoom. I get the information flashed up on my screen.
Button live.
I was told earlier that there was some charter enrollment, but I've been just informed by our chair of the school committee that we do not have any enrollment. So thank you very much, Ms. Bailey, on that note. Next, and this is, I've actually talked to the board about this, is I'd like to start reporting back, is back in April of 2019, the board set a series of goals with Mr. Lombardi, Mr. Petrin, a number of things throughout the town. And what I'd like to do is go through these and see where we are on these goals and update the board and the public, and seeing those that we have not been able to complete, get them completed. And the ones that are completed, we can take off the list. So looks to be approximately close to at least 20 to 23 items on the listing. So I'm sure the board will be actually very interested and somewhat excited about seeing where we are and trying to get them off the list. Open to any comments.
Excited, I'm not sure, but interested, definitely.
Well, is
Okay.
that, Mr. Administrator, is that something that you want to send to us so that we have time to digest it and respond?
Oh, certainly. I'm sure we have this in one of our folders that we can send off to you.
Yeah, because
And,
that's quite a long list, and I'm sure it'll take a little time to shake out the cobwebs if it's been that long.
there's some of the items I've looked at, I know off the top of my head have been probably completed, and some other ones probably not so, but.
Well, let's send that out to the 3 selectmen, and we'll put that on the agenda for next Tuesday to see which of those 20s we can check off and what needs more work. How's that sound, Tom?
Yeah.
So Gary, I have a question for Tom.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so every year, roughly around mid-October, we get a report from the Hamilton Wenham Regional School District about the enrollment numbers for the school district, particularly the enrollment for Hamilton and Wenham. And the split between Hamilton and Wenham is predicated primarily on not only in the budget that's approved by the regional school district, but also the split between the two towns. This is now mid-December. I've not seen any numbers on the enrollment, and that they were due to be published shortly after October 1 to the both towns. Have you seen any numbers like that?
I haven't seen the numbers. I'll make a note. There's
How
a
about Gary? Have you
possibility
seen any numbers, Gary?
No, I have not.
Well, they're way overdue.
So we'll inquire to the school committee and see if we can extract those numbers for our next meeting.
You can't do a budget for next year. I know we have a budget presentation tomorrow night with the with the FinCom. You really can't do a coach and budget presentation without understanding those numbers.
Right.
I just had it flashed on my screen that they'll be available at your December joint meeting. From the chair.
When in December is that?
That's the
Oh.
17th. Well, I'll get together with Michelle Bailey, chairman of the school committee, and see if we can get those, because we're meeting tomorrow with FinCom.
Yeah.
We ought to have those budget numbers ahead of time.
That's critical to have those numbers for tomorrow night.
Right, I believe your meeting is December, is it 16th? The
17th.
school, 17th, okay, the school.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they were supposed to be published in early October. This is now mid-December. That's what I'm.
I can't speak for that, but we'll see what we can do about getting the numbers prior to the meeting for you.
All right.
3 other items briefly. We just received notification that we've received an almost $6,000 grant from Meyer, that's our insurance association, for primarily COVID-related items for the town, safety supplies, other equipment, a thermal camera. So I appreciate our department heads who put that together. And we'll be processing that. I'll give you an update on that once we get the equipment.
Great.
Two other items. One, and it's been a busy week with FY22 budget meetings. So we've been having preliminary budget meetings with our department heads. Jackie and Jamie have been excellent in putting the packages together. And I've been learning a lot from our department heads. And we'll be continuing those tomorrow with about 4 other departments. And I can say you've got a very good team here, and I'm very pleased. It's been taking up a lot of time, but it's good time working on that. And we'll keep the board very much involved in the budget process and understanding that.
Right.
And one other item, and it's actually been very interesting. I'm trying to pick out little things every day. I noticed on our website, you have a program which a lot of towns have, See Click Fix, which is relatively, people sign up, they become a part of it. And if they go out and they see a pothole or they see something, a tree fallen, they take a photo and they, on their phone, and they submit it to See Click Fix, and we end up repairing it or doing what we need to. It's a good mechanism. We don't use it that often here. At least I've seen the numbers aren't very high on that. If the public wants to use it, go onto our website, register. And if you see something you want to have resolved, go on to it. It's our way of knowing what's out there. But that's what you need it for. We don't use it for debate back and forth. It's more an informational. I seen a tree down, I need it cut up, contact us. So we'll keep watching that and we'll keep responding on that. So I want to just thank you, and I want to thank the board. I want to thank our team here. I want to thank the public. I know it's been a difficult time the past 10 months or so, but we're going to work here and do the best we can on that. So, I just noticed that See Click Fix has not been working reliably. We'll look into that. So, thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Tom. Here comes the next slide.
On to the consent agenda, I do have a comment I'd like to make.
Right.
I think on the behalf of the Board of Selectmen, I want to offer our condolences to Bill Tyak for the untimely and sudden death of his son this past Saturday, and we're very, very sad to learn about that. And we offer our sympathy and condolence to Bill Tyak on behalf of the entire board and the town.
Most certainly, Mr. Tyak's had a difficult time period here, and we extend our condolences from everyone here. So let us know if there's anything we can do to help there. All right. And one more item before we get to the consent agenda. I want to say thank you to Melissa Berry, our Conservation Open Space Coordinator, who will be leaving the staff. I know she's been with us since about August of 2018. Has done a great job with the Conservation Commission and otherwise in Town Hall. And in the meantime, my understanding is that she's finishing up her graduate degree and moving on to bigger things. So we thank her for the work she's done here and wish her well in future endeavors. Thank you, Melissa. All right, consent agenda. The chairman moves that the Board of Selectmen vote to approve the consent agenda, including the following: open session meeting minutes of October 27th, November 5th, the joint meeting with Hamilton Board of Selectmen, Hamilton FinCom, and the Wenham FinCom on November 9th, November 17th, and November 19th open session meetings. And then approve and release executive session meeting minutes of October 6th and November 17th, session number 2, which pertain to the hiring of a new police and fire and finance director. and that we approve the executive session minutes of October 13th, October 20th, October 27th, November 3rd, November 10th, and November 17th, the first session, and November 20th, which are to be held. Do I hear a second?
I'll
No,
second your
actually, I'd
motion,
like
Mr. Chairman.
All
I'd
right,
like to make a comment, John, if I may.
Please, yes.
I want to move that we pass this off to the next meeting. I just picked these up, a huge packet. Nikki did a fantastic job, I'm sure. We worked very, very hard to produce it. But there's an extremely thick package of minutes, and some of these minutes are extremely important. And I need another a day or two to review the minutes, particularly since the executive session minutes were on some controversial issues. So
all right.
I'd like to move, rather than approve the consent agenda, to basically move it to our next meeting, if I may.
John, any comment on that?
I would agree with him. It is a thick packet, and I did not get quite through it myself.
Okay. Then the chair will reschedule these particular minutes for the 15 December meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so new business, the town administrative search update, including the potential approval of town administrative screening committee charge and the request for letters of interest. So Tom, you want to take this? And I believe we have John's on board here too, available to introduce our contractor and the process. So Tom, why don't you lead on this?
Okay, you want me to introduce John or?
Sure. Yep.
Okay. The
Oh,
board,
John Petrin.
Yes.
okay, yes,
Okay, sorry.
okay. The Board of Selectmen at their November 17th meeting selected Community Paradigm Associates to complete the search for Wenham's next town administrator. They are very well versed in the selection process and the recruitment of town managers, town administrators throughout the Commonwealth. And I believe at this point, the board is going to have John Petrin, who is one of the senior associates of the firm, to discuss with the board the process for the next town administrator. And I do also believe that the board is going to be discussing the type of screening committee and setting that. Is that correct, Mr. Chairman?
Yes. So John, are you on here?
Yes, I am. You got it.
So John, want to?
So we have with us as well. Okay.
So go ahead, John, and give us a brief overview of the process for the public at large as we search for a new permanent administrator.
Sure. First, I'd like to introduce, we have a couple of members of our firm. Our principal is here, Bernie Lynch. He's started the company about 6 years ago. So Bernie has been in the business as long as Tommy and I. Tom, good to see you again.
Same here, John. I'm the one with the tie on tonight.
Yeah, I've given up the tie, Tom. So I did that last year with these guys. So Bernie's our principal, been doing this for about 6 years with the firm, and Sharon Flaherty is senior associate with the firm, and she does a lot of the writing. She's our critical cog in the firm because she puts together the profile. Department heads and the outside. So it's good to see many of you, Chief Kavanaugh on here as well, and Jackie, Nikki, and I spent some good time with you folks last year for about 6 months as the interim. And Jack and John, good to see you still on the board.
Yeah.
Moving forward. So
Yeah, we missed you when you left. Everybody cried, and that wasn't good. So Tom now has big boots to fill.
Yeah,
We're aging in place.
I can give Tom a call and let him know who to watch, over the next couple of months. There are certainly some characters here. Always appreciated working with them. Nikki will keep you straight all the time, Tom, so you don't have to worry about that one.
She's fantastic.
Yeah, she is. So the process, I know Jack and John, you've been involved a couple of times in the hiring process.
Yes,
So
sir.
will work similar to past situations. So what we pride ourselves on, though, is actually doing a lot of research and recruiting. So we will make phone calls. We will contact folks out there to see who may have interest in the position, so that hopefully we put together a great group of candidates.
Yep, we expect nothing but
Candidates
top
on
quality
the
from you,
business
John.
Done recently. Go ahead.
No, I was
So,
saying we expect top quality from you, John.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. So again, we've been doing 30 to 35 candidates, on our searches, high quality with that. I think we can assure you that the whole situation with the pandemic has not slowed down our capacity to bring candidates to the table. I know that's been a question that's been asked many times over the last few months. There are still great candidates who are available out there. And Bernie and myself are very much involved in the community. We both still teach at Suffolk University. Just finished up a class. I saw you, treasure collector on the screen here. There's Sherry. So I just had a class with her recently. So we're involved out there. We're seeing who's available. We'll work it. So what we'll be doing is getting out very shortly. We met with Gary and with Nikki last week, talked about people to get our questionnaire out to. So department heads will be receiving a questionnaire from us. And what we try to do is highlight facts about Wenham, what is happening today and what's expected to happen in the next couple of years, so that we're capable of talking to the candidates about the town of Wenham. And certainly I have a little bit of an advantage having worked with you folks for 6 months last year, as the interim manager. So we look forward to working with it. And we truly appreciate the fact that you putting your trust into our firm and working the issues. So we're here to present just briefly the process. So again, we'll start with the questionnaire. Sharon will work with your department heads to gather the information and put it into a document, which will have ready by the first week of January. You'll be seeing that document and having an opportunity to review that. Once that's approved by you folks, we will then put that out as part of our job advertisements so that candidates can see what Town of Wenham's all about, what the opportunities are moving forward in working for the town. I'll certainly be able to talk about the great crew you had. I know Tommy, said some nice words earlier, and during my time there, while I was there, the people I got to work with there, you have some very dedicated local officials involved in the town, and so we'll certainly be able to highlight that in seeking candidates for your position as we move forward. So we have the schedule, which you saw in your packets when as part of our proposal. We hope to follow that schedule. We're trying to get through the holidays. That's always an interesting time of year of planning through, but I think Nikki, Gary, and us worked that out last week, so that and work with that, and then you'll be selecting your screening committee. So that folks, the citizens you pick and the officials you pick can be involved in reviewing the candidates as they come forward for interviews in a preliminary stage. So I know we talked today, Gary, you're setting up an email as well, so citizens can provide their contacts as to, or their information and as to what they would seek, the qualities they seek in an administrator moving forward. And we'll be glad to take that and certainly compile that as part of the profile that we put together. So with that, I think that's a very brief overview of the process as we move forward. We are always available to take your phone calls if you have questions on the process. Many of you already had my number, hidden someplace, unless
You mean you didn't change it to avoid us?
No, I did. When I see your name come up on the screen, John, I'll have to think twice, But I will answer the phone. I will say I will answer the phone. Since
I do have
I
a serious question for you though, John.
Yeah.
How long do you think it'll be before you have a good array of candidates? Are we talking a few weeks, a month? Knowing we're going into holiday season?
Sure. So once we put together the profile in early January, we will advertise that. We're already working on a few candidates that we think may have interest in a position. So we're always talking to folks. We've made some phone calls on it already. So you'll see probably the names coming in the end of February, end of January and early February. We'll start receiving names, and we'll work on a schedule with your screening committee as to when we'll be prepared to actually do the screening interviews.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, John. So yes, let me put a pitch in there. Thank you, Nikki, that we have set up a email account at Town Hall. So the public at large, employees, and anybody else that wants to put an input, it's tasearch@wenhamma.gov to provide us with written expectations of what you would like to see in a town administrator. Also, Nikki will shortly be having a full website page up on the town website detailing the whole process. So thank you to Mr. Lynch and team, and to John. We're looking forward to working with you.
Great.
Jack or John, do you have any questions at this point?
Welcome back, John. Jack Wilhelm.
Hey, Jack, how you doing? Good to see you.
Good to see you, John. A little earlier than I expected to see you, but welcome back.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought we'd have a few. I had lunch with Nikki a while, not too long ago, and it was like I didn't think I'd have to be talking about coming in on the search side of things.
Anyway, welcome back.
All right. So Nikki, do we have the motion to establish the screening committee? There we go. All right. So the move that the Board of Selectmen adopt the proposed charge for the Town Administrator Screening Committee and request letters of interest to be received by the public by Friday, December 18th, 2020. Those letters can be in your own format or utilize the on the town website format to submit those through Nikki. So do I have a second to establish the screening committee?
I'll second your motion.
I have a second, but I have a comment.
Yeah.
It's only 10 days between now and December 18th. Maybe we can extend it a little bit, for another week or so, because that's only a 10-day period. A lot of people don't actually watch us. I'm surprised and shocked, but nevertheless, I'd like to extend the interest to be received December 18th for a few more days. I don't know, December 24th. I'm making up a date, but I think it should be like a little longer than 10 days.
Well, Friday the 25th is out with the holiday, back to 24th half day. So, okay, let's
I'm just picking a date. I'm just picking a date that's out in the future. That's all.
Yeah, so the Wednesday, December 23rd,
Okay.
wrap up that week, and that should give people in the public time to get the names in.
That's right, Christmas Eve.
All
Yeah,
right.
they'll probably be done with the holiday shopping by then. So that's
Hopefully so.
whatever. So I'm in agreement with that.
So we'll amend the draft motion to read that the Board of Selectmen adopt the proposed charge for the Town Administrator Screening Committee and request letters of interest to be received by Wednesday, December 23rd, 2020. Do I
I'll
have
second that.
all in favor? John,
Aye.
Jack,
Aye.
Gary, aye. All right, so that committee is established, and we need volunteers to fill that. Next item. All right, so we have new business, some appointments. So we have the audit committee from that Jack has worked for quite a long time and has dropped off of, but we have a vacancy there. Unfortunately, we have the audit report coming in tomorrow. So I'll step forward to be hopefully a 1-week audit committee member to receive that report tomorrow afternoon to report it to the Board of Selectmen. But I would ask the public at large, and especially going through the street listing, there must be at least a dozen CPAs and others with finance background in town, that someone step forward and become a member of this audit committee.
Gary, if I might ask you, or Jack, actually, you know better, how many meetings are there regarding that committee?
Probably two.
2 per year.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty light lift. So
They-
for those who are out there listening, and I'm going to make a few calls myself, let's see if we can get some good qualified folks to step in.
All right, sounds good. So if you're listening out there, step forward and get someone else on the committee. Otherwise, the motion is that the Board of Selectmen appoint Gary R. Cheeseman to the Audit Committee through 30 June 2021 or sooner if we can get a replacement to step forward. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Gary, aye. All right, so that,
Gary, no, Gary, can I go back to your previous slide, please?
yes,
It looks like everyone's up for renewal. June 20th, 2021. Oh, okay.
to June 30th, 2021, yes.
Okay, this is 2020. So all of the members of the committee are, including you, the terms are all up next year, and that doesn't sound right to me. I thought they were staggered 3-year terms.
Should be
No.
there, but we're
If
doing,
I,
go ahead, Nikki.
pardon me, yes, they're 1-year terms. They're all 1-year terms.
Oh, all right,
Right.
okay. So if they don't do well, we don't have to, never mind. Oh,
All right, next,
fine, fine. I agree.
Mr. Chairman,
yes, Tom.
just to update the board on this, I did do some research in the area regarding other audit committees for other towns. And literally, unless their websites aren't posting it, the only other one I found in the North Shore of this area was Ipswich, where I worked for a number of years ago. And that, I believe, was a 5-member committee. The other ones statewide are generally 3 to 5. And their meetings are like 2 to 4 meetings a year.
Right.
So you're right in the ballpark as far as your numbers and the type of meetings you have.
All right, sounds good. So yes,
So just to Jack, one, some years we have 3 meetings, but one is usually dedicated to a topic, but usually 2, maximum 3. That's my experience over the last many, many years.
so not a tough load. All right, so next new business. This appointment is to appoint Michael G. Therian, Human Resources Volunteer, that are, as we've seen, the town employee handbook is dated 1999, that there are other factors involved in human resources that really need to be updated. So I'd like to welcome Michael Therian as a volunteer. He has great background as both the managing union negotiations, non-union negotiations, setting up merit pay, setting up personnel systems throughout his Air Force career. So I'd move that the Board of Selectmen appoint Michael G. Therian as a human resources volunteer through June 30th, 2021. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that, but I have a question.
Go ahead, Jack.
So what's his role?
His role is to take a look at how we are set up now, which is pretty flimsy, I think, to
Yeah.
design a new personnel system for us and to come back to the committee and say, this is what I think it should be set up like, and this is what we can do human resources wise.
When you say the committee, you mean the Board of Selectmen
Yeah,
committee?
back to the Board of Selectmen, yes.
Okay.
Hmm.
Good. Thank you.
I think it's a great idea, Gary. I really do, because I know it's one of the strongest points of need in every operation today. So, and he's a good man, and on your recommendation, I will be supportive of it as well.
So we have the second, I believe we had. So let's roll call vote. John,
Aye.
Jack,
Aye.
Gary, aye. So that motion is unanimous. So next appointment is Patricia Purdy has volunteered to join the Hamilton Wenham Cultural Council as a Wenham representative. And I might mention that there are several other vacancies here available to Wenham residents as well. So this appointment follows the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 10, Section 58 for local and regional cultural council establishment with an equal number of members for 3-year terms. The procedures outlined in 962 CMR, Massachusetts Cultural Council for Local and Regional Cultural councils state that each member community must have at least one member. Hamilton currently has 5 appointed members, and Wenham has 1 appointed member and 4 openings. So at least we'll get the 1 more on here. So I
Great.
move that the Board of Selectmen appoint Patricia K. Purdy to the Hamilton Wenham Cultural Council for 3-year term through June 30th, 2023. Do I have?
I'll second your motion, Mr. Chairman, and comment that for others, I know Hamilton does seem to have a great interest in this cultural council. So I would think Wenham has some good interest in that too. So let's keep it on our agenda.
Any comments, Jack?
I support the motion.
All right, seconded, then roll call vote. John,
Aye.
Jack,
Aye.
Gary, aye, and thank you to Patricia Purdy, the latest member of the Hamilton Wenham Cultural Council. All right, the next appointment is for Richard M. Osgood Jr. to be appointed to the Veterans Committee. This appointment would complete the composition of the Veterans Committee charge adopted by the Board of Selectmen on April 30th, 2029. The membership of up to 9 full members. Do I hear a second?
I will second your motion, Mr. Chairman, and welcome him in because I've spoke with him at great length, and he's he's a very bright guy, and he's very interested in the veterans programs.
So yes, we are welcoming another veteran. Jack, any comments?
Yes, the Veterans Committee meeting this morning was highly anticipating Mr. Osgood joining the committee. He was mentioned several times, and that I was asked 2 or 3 times, when is he going to be appointed, Jack? I said, I think tonight. So that he's the members of the committee are anticipating him joining the committee enthusiastically. So I would certainly agree with that.
All right, so here's the motion. Move that the Board of Selectmen appoint Richard M. Osgood Jr. to the Veterans Committee for a 3-year term through June 30th, 2023. Do I hear a second?
Second.
And the roll call vote. John,
Aye.
Jack,
Aye.
Gary, aye. And that motion is passed. All right, so new business, which is kind of old business, but still very much with us. So Mary Beth Ting, an update on our public health COVID status. I think you're, there we go.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman and Selectmen. Just to bring you up to speed on where things are with COVID-19 in our community. As many people know, we had a large number of cases over the last few weeks, which had Wenham on the state metrics map in the red for the last 2 weeks running. And I will just point out that when we get the weekly public health report on Thursday, it's always a retrospective look. Those data are pulled for a 2-week period from a Sunday to the following Saturday. And so the most recent one that will be reported on this coming week will be data from the 22nd of December until December the 5th. And because I can be in Maven, I can run that data. And I'm pleased to say that for that 2-week period, when we get the report on Thursday, Wenham will be down back into the green. We will have 15 cases for that time period. So we will have moved out of the red. As mentioned earlier, the governor did make some announcements today about rolling the entire state back to phase 3, step 1. The things that will be affected are, as we discussed earlier about Reads Across America, outdoor gatherings are limited now to 50 people or less. Additionally, there's a decrease in indoor capacity to 40%, and that affects our houses of worship as well as our local businesses. That also would affect our Wenham Country Club indoor spacing is reduced to 40% indoors. I'm sorry, Nikki, if we could go back one, I'm sorry, I didn't, the state did revise the quarantine guidance. So as many people who have been watching the news probably realized, a week ago today, the CDC updated their guidance to try to encourage people to more strictly adhere to quarantine and in line with science that we're seeing about when people are most apt to transmit infection. And so the state has just yesterday announced that they have aligned quarantine guidance with the CDC. So I don't want to get too much in the weeds on it, but I will say that there are options for when people leave quarantine based on how they are feeling. So those first 2 bullet points are people have to be completely free of symptoms in order to either test out on day 5 after their exposure to the person who has confirmed infection, complete 7 days of quarantine, and then on day 8 be out and about their business, while still closely monitoring their health for the full 14 days after the exposure. Similarly, exit day, completing 10 days of quarantine and resuming normal activities on day 11, if and only if the person has no symptoms whatsoever. And unfortunately, we're talking about even mild symptoms like a scratchy throat or mild nasal congestion. Any of those things are warrant reporting it to the public health officials, myself or one of the other public health nurses, and seeking testing. So that's the newest information on quarantine. So I would just ask the public, if you have a confirmed exposure to someone positive to COVID-19, whether that's a household contact or a social contact, one of the public health nurses from the town will be calling you. We are required by state law to follow up and ask certain questions to protect the public's health, to prevent the spread of infectious disease. So I just ask when the nurse calls, just please treat them with courtesy. They're doing their job to try to keep our community members safe and well and to reduce the spread of infection. Just to reiterate, the governor's mask order from 11/6, it's been on the books now for quite a while. If you're not in your own home or your own car, your nose and mouth should be covered with a face covering. If you have people from outside your household in your home or in your car, your nose and mouth should be covered with a face covering. That's really, really important. And the last thing I just wanted to say is please remember to connect socially with other people. It's so important during this time that's been so difficult. And we have to find different and unique ways of doing it, whether it's through Zoom or FaceTime or phone calls or handwritten notes, ways to connect socially so that we're not getting isolated. But we need to do that with people outside of our household from a distance of 6 feet or greater so that we can reduce the spread. Because as we keep hearing from our state officials, household spread is one of the key ways that this virus is spreading at this point in time. The case count is currently posted on the town website under the COVID-19 page. We have had, from the beginning of the pandemic until now, 90 cases of COVID-19 in our community. We've had 2 deaths, unfortunately. And the last thing I will say is we will be hosting another public health forum. I believe this is our 3rd on Monday, December the 14th. I believe the time will be 7 p.m. and there will be more posting about that. We are inviting citizens to please send in your questions and comments so you can participate. And we will have a moderator, and it should be a wonderful opportunity for people to gain more information about COVID and how they can protect themselves within our community. I do thank everybody for navigating this very difficult time and ask you to keep the faith and keep covering your nose and mouth and keep doing the good work that you're doing, washing your hands and staying physically distant. Thank you so much.
Thank
Mary
you.
Beth, John Clemenzi, I have
Go
a
ahead,
question for you.
Mhm.
And the question, I'm going to precede the question with what I watched this afternoon, which was at least an hour presentation by the president's group that has put together the Pfizer and Moderna and all the way down through the process of FedEx and UPS to distribute. I have never been so impressed by such a competent group of people as what I saw going on there. And the amount of information was absolutely fabulous. So, I think on a positive side, there's going to be some inoculation ability on our threshold very quickly. Have you heard from the governor? And I understand the governors are the ones who are in charge of distribution. Have you heard when we would be seeing some of this?
We have not heard yet when. I can tell you that the state is definitely in process with making plans for receipt and distribution. I did receive a communication from the state last week to sign up to be prepared for receipt of vaccine. You know, they're putting the logistical pieces in place. This first Pfizer vaccine that you're talking about,
Yes.
Selectman Clemenza, is really not appropriate for local individuals because of the storage needs of the super cold temperatures that are required. So I believe those will be going first and primarily to more large hospitals and other institutions that have the facility to keep the things at the super cold storage that's required for that vaccine. When other types and manufacturers vaccine becomes available, I think that will very likely be different because they will have different storage needs. But that is still information that's in process. The emergency use authorizations have not yet been approved to my knowledge. And so that's still a bit prospective for us at this time, but planning is definitely underway, but we're not yet to the place that they're releasing that kind of information to us.
Okay, thank you very much, because yeah, the temperature control in what you were saying is a very low temperature, 97 degrees below zero and so forth. I mean, those packages, just the packages alone must have taken enormous amounts of strategy and planning to develop it and then execute, putting 5,000 units in a container that's closed in with insulation and dry ice. So I'm just anxious because I think this is where the answer lies, as I'm pretty sure you would know as well.
All right. Thank you, Mary Beth. And I know you've been working triple overtime all through this pandemic. So our thanks. And for the public at large, yes, the vaccine's coming, but as Mary Beth says, we still got to follow the rules to prevent the spread here in Wenham. All right.
Yep.
Thank
Got
you.
it.
All right. New business, Town Government Study Committee. At the last committee meeting, we established a Town Government Study Committee to address the question of 3 or 5 selectmen. Since then, we've looked around. As you know, we heard from Bill Tyak, who will be continuing on in the role as DPW director for some more time now, and had conversations with the new town administrator and council on aging, Jim Reynolds, that I would like to propose that we add 2 more subjects to the Town Government Study Committee. One has come up before. We've talked about the possibility of rearranging the DPW water department setup, whether shared personnel, shared management, shared financials, whatever. I've been in contact with Ernest Ashley, and I think the water department concurs in this. So I'd like to add to the agenda for the Town Government Study Committee the question of how we should reorganize or not reorganize the DPW water. And the second one is, as we know, over time, we've built up a series of social services committees. We have WISH, we have Council on Aging, we have affordable housing and so forth. And I think it's time to see if we can streamline those committees. I think there's 5 in total that we could streamline, and we'll let the study committee look at this so that a person that comes to social services and needs some help does not have to go to 5 or 6 different directions, but can go to one central place there. So we put out the draft charge for the committee with these 2 additional things beyond the 3 to 5 selectmen committee. So I'd like to move that the Board of Selectmen adopt the proposed charge for the Town Government Study Committee and request letters of interest to be received by Friday, December 18th. In fact, I'll change that right now. So we'll make that Wednesday, December 23rd, to give it a couple more days, 2020. So John, Jack, you have any comments on these?
Yes, I do. I think the consolidation might be helpful. But let me go back to, I'm particularly interested in the Affordable Housing Trust, because that's a trust. They have money to distribute, and that what is the charge for the inclusion of the Affordable Housing Trust, please?
Well, I think the charge says that just to the committee, just says, please look at this and see if there's a better way to organize that. We have the trust working on housing. We have Enon Village working on housing. We have the Council on Aging Board. We have Wish. We have
Okay.
and so forth. So it's just a matter of a study. We're not changing anything. It's a
Okay.
matter, let's look at that and see.
Yeah, okay, yeah. They all have different, different agendas, and that the Affordable Housing Trust is certainly different than the other committees you just mentioned. That, yeah, I'm in favor of that, and that we have to tread carefully here because some of these committees have specific
Duties.
responsibilities, like the Affordable Housing Trust, for example, and that, okay, I think it's a good idea to study it. There seems to be a plethora of these committees, and that I'd be in favor of studying that as well.
Right. Any comments, John?
No, I agree with both what Jack has said and yourself. I think it's always good to review and see where you can make some improvements. And with this plethora, as Jack said, of different organizations, maybe there's a rationale for putting some of them together and not watering down our volunteers list.
Very well then. The motion's there. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second that.
And roll call vote. John,
Aye.
Jack,
Aye.
and Gary, aye. So I'll just mention too that we have two opportunities. So given the bylaws, there'll be ex officio, but Tom, our new administrator, has volunteered his expertise, having been to many other communities that can lend to this. And Paul Weaver, previous moderator and town council and bylaw will also volunteer to serve ex officio to provide the historical perspective on the organization of the town. So thank you for both of those. And for others interested, let's make that date by December 23rd, get this rolling so that we can get some answers back by next town meeting. All right, Nikki, what else we have? That brings us to the end. Jack, do you have any other business?
Let's go back. I want to go back to the last one. So the Government Study Commission, and that let's like a proposed charge that Doug. Go back to. Would you go back to the Government Study Committee? Let's see, consolidate. So additional 5 members committee involved in delivering social services. Where is this? The 3 selectmen versus 5 selectmen. Is that in there someplace?
So yes. So last week we established the study committee based first on the 3 to 5 selectmen question. So,
Okay.
So what we'll have here is the study committee will be charged with looking at 3 areas: the 3 versus 5 selectmen,
Okay.
the DPW and water, and then the social services. So those 3 areas.
Oh, okay. That's a hell of a committee. That's gonna.
Yep.
They got a lot of work to do there. For one committee, that's a lot. Okay. And so when are we going to actually appoint members of this committee?
So as we said, we have 2 ex officio experts already on the committee lined up, Tom and Paul Weaver. And through the 23rd of December, we'll be taking volunteers. So the first Board of Selectmen meeting after the 23rd of
Okay.
December,
Okay.
we'll appoint the members.
Okay. It went kind of quick. I was paying attention. I thought so that there's a hell of a lot there. So this is one pretty big committee in terms of responsibility.
Right.
And okay.
All right. So John, anything else to add?
No, I think we've covered it. So I'm okay with it.
So a quick review of next week then. We roll the consent agenda back. Also, for those interested, I think we'll be ready to do all the licenses will be conducted next Tuesday and other business. And meanwhile, I think as Tom said, we've got a list of 20 items that we talked about, or the former selectmen talked about back in 2019. So we'll update that and perhaps put that on the agenda to scratch some off and take a look at where we want to go in the new year. So,
Yeah, that's great.
I do have a comment, Gary.
Yeah.
And so every year for the used car business, I'm going to call it used car business, if I'm saying it correct.
All right, so
Yes.
there's one for you, Tom, right?
Right.
Right.
I've made a note of that and I'll look into it tomorrow.
All right. So
Oh, and additionally, I think it does cost them money as well.
Cost them money is just, it just seems unreasonable. I mean, everyone knows people and that some like them, some don't like them, but nevertheless, they've been there for years, longer than I've been almost alive. And so that's a long time. And so that I don't think we need to fingerprint them every single year.
all right.
So maybe we can find a way to waive that requirement, which we're going to get one or more of them are going to complain about that. I'm not going to tell you which one. The minute we bring them up on the podium. And so that I don't want to hear that again for the 6th straight year. Okay, if we can find a way to absolve them from fingerprinting, that'd be great.
Very good. Well, thank you for everybody for attending tonight. Remember your COVID precautions, and we'll get through this period until we get the vaccines. So a special thanks to Mary Beth. Welcome to Tom. Thank you to Melissa, who's leaving us. And good night, if nobody has anything else to add. You're good,
All
Tom?
set.
All right. All right. Thank you very much.
Okay, good night.
Good night. And we need a
Bye-bye.
motion. We need a motion. to
Need a
adjourn.
motion too.
So moved.
All right, so moved. And the roll call vote, John,
Aye.
Jack,
Bye.
and Gary, aye. So I make it about 7:37, the adjournment. So thank you to our recorder and to Nikki and for setting up the slides and everything. Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Night.
Hi, everybody.
Night all.